Hi, my name is Ryan Lane, and welcome to my review channel. So for today's movie, I will be reviewing Brian and Charles, starring David Earl, Chris Hayward, Louise Bradley, and Jamie Mitchie. Anyway, so this film tells the story of Brian, played by David Earl. So Brian is a quirky, lonely inventor with a penchant for cabbages and peculiar inventions. Like, one of his inventions is literally just a satchel bag with pine cones glued to it. Those are the types of inventions. Also, like, he makes a plunger and attaches a water bottle to it. That way you can drink while you plunge your toilet. Again, like I said, quirky. Anyway, so one day, and he decides to make a robot. And weirdly enough, despite seeming like the last person on Earth who could invent a robot, he succeeds, and it is sentient and everything, mobile, and has, well, at least one eye. And this robot ultimately comes to be named Charles. And so Charles is an inquisitive robot who, unlike Brian, wants to see the world outside of the Welsh countryside in which Brian lives in. Now, most of the humor in this film is sort of derived from their chemistry. It is so hilarious. Mainly their interaction, they go through the stages of a parent-child relationship within the span of a week. It's so hilarious. You know, they go from doing everything together to Charles going through his teenage emo phase which includes blasting rock music super loudly and staying up late at night to being a smartass. It's hilarious, to eventually letting go. It's hilarious. I love it. And also there is the character Hazel, played by Louise Bradley. She plays the love interest to Brian, and while Hazel and Brian do share some good chemistry together, I did like seeing together, their romantic subplot sort of lacked a push-pull arc to it. And like, it didn't feel like there was much tension or conflict within the relationship. There was never any moment where like they get into a heated argument. I'm not saying all realistic relationships need to, but I felt like their relationship sort of just like went like this, whereas I feel like it would have been more interesting if it went like this. Anyway, and then there's Eddie, played by Jamie Mitchie. So he sort of plays the village bully of sorts, you know, like, for perspective, early on in the film, he's seen at one point bullying the village store owner into giving him a discount on some food, like, which is contrasted with Charles, who earlier, before this point in the film, discovers a broken piece of product and is like, and wants to pay for it, but the store owner's like, oh, yeah, you can have it for free. Anyway, also, well, I will say this. I should talk about Charles's performance as well. So the voice acting is really good. It feels like it sort of has that nice robot inflection with the weird pronunciations, plus the physicality of the performance. It's amazing. Like, he looks like the physicality is amazing. He looks intentionally awkward and rigid, you know, moving from point A to point B. Although, oddly enough, he is a weirdly good dancer. Also, one other slight issue with the film is sort of the pacing. Like, there are some parts of the film, like when Brian discovers that the robot he invented is against all odds sentient. Like, it feels like there may be one section or two of the you know, getting to know Charles portion could have been cut or at least trimmed down a bit. I mean, it's charming, thankfully. I never felt like, okay, come on, move along. It felt in need of a little tighter rhythm of sorts. Also, the film sort of hews a bit closely to the genre tropes of the man makes robot and robot becomes friend genre of sorts. Like, the third act is sort of if you've seen you know, many films like say Johnny Five, you know, the part at Johnny Five where like the robot eventually gets captured and, you know, the inventor has to go save him. Well, I mean, again, I hate to break the bad news, but something similar happens to the robot as well in the third act. Thankfully, there's plenty of comedy to be had, especially involving the invention, so thankfully that's helpful. The action is well directed, especially for a film of this scale and budget. And it helps the Brian character fulfill his character arc of breaking out of his shell and standing up for himself. And one more positive to note, the cinematography. So the framing device for this film is it's a mockumentary. Now, why a documentary team would want to make a film about Brian, especially before he invents a robot? No clue. The film never answers that, but that's not really the problem. But I love the cinematography approach that this mockumentary style allows for. It really helps to demonstrate Brian's loneliness in the world. Like when Brian is driving his car, it's framed such that you can feel how much he misses there was someone sitting next to him on his left. And so I really like that. And it also helps highlight his awkwardness. So yeah, I really enjoyed the cinematography. So with all that in mind, despite hewing a little close to genre tropes and having some iffy pacing at times, Brian and Charles is a charming adventure thanks to great chemistry between Brian and Charles and a hilarious and heartfelt script. So with that in mind, I will be giving Brian and Charles 3.5 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day.